Hi students, this video is going to go over the syllabus briefly, highlighting the most important things. It is a little bit of a longer video, so if you need to grab a snack or pause it and take a break, feel free to do that. I'll try to go as fast as I can. Ideally, you would all read this on your own, but I know that sometimes these can be pretty tedious, so I thought I would make a video to kind of streamline the process and go through it. But I do hope that you will read it in its entirety on your own. All the answers that most students have, all the answers to the questions that most students have are found in the syllabus, and you can really basically find everything you need to know reading it on your own. So the first part is the instructor information, how to get a hold of me. You can always make an appointment with me for my online office hour. If you need to meet with me on campus, we can also arrange that. Right now, my online office hours are kind of up in the air. When school actually begins, I will send out a announcement on Blackboard letting you know when my office hours will be, and they may be tweaked slightly throughout the semester. As you saw, my little TA is a growing baby, and I do have a caregiver for him, but my office hours might change slightly depending on his nap times and when the nanny will be with him. So I will let you know as things change, but I'm generally available to make appointments to meet with you whenever you need, online or in person. So email is the best way to reach me. I do keep normal business hours with my email, meaning that I check it regularly from about 9 to 5. But if you email me not during business hours, I'll get to it when I next log in. I don't answer emails on the weekend usually, but I will get to it on Mondays and things like that. So just make sure that you understand that last minute emails may not be returned before an assignment is due, because I answer emails in the order they're received. So if everybody's emailing me and you're emailing me at the last minute, I'll get to them as I can. You should make sure that your emails are professional and appropriate in their tone, format, and content, and make sure that you're using a professional greeting and a closing and things like that. So we do want communication to be as thorough and complete as possible. So make sure that you note the rule of 3 before sending an email. And the rule of 3 is that you check 3 other sources. So make sure you're checking the syllabus or the course calendar, the assignment prompt, rubrics, grading criteria, student samples, maybe asking someone else in the course, looking in the textbook, making sure that I haven't sent out a Blackboard announcement about it. And if you still can't find an answer after checking 3 of those sources, I'll be happy to answer your question. It just kind of cuts down on the amount of emails going back and forth. If you are just asking a quick question, like when is something due, that's something that can easily be answered by checking the course calendar. This is our required textbook. Make sure that you do have it. Hang on, I see a typo real fast. Sorry about that. I just realized I didn't update the year on that. So it is a brand new edition that has just come out, and you can use any version you would like. It's mostly distributed as the e-text. You can get an upgrade that includes the paper copy, but all you need is the e-text. And you don't need the Revel upgrade or anything like that. All you need is the actual e-text itself. I did post an announcement on Blackboard explaining where to get the book and the different options you have, so please make sure you check that out. You can check out the other required materials like an email account, a USB drive or Google account with Drive to back up your copies of your work, things like that. We will be using Blackboard for everything in this course, so make sure that you have a familiarity with Blackboard. There is a video to help you navigate the Blackboard shell if you'd like. There's a little bit about this course and the requirements to be in this course, and a little bit about the course goals. So the main goal for this course is to teach you how to go from academic to business writing, and there is a difference. So it's kind of navigating how to write for the real world. And you're going to learn how to, create a professional persona and professional communication style, investigating a variety of sources, avoid plagiarism, utilize different organizational and drafting strategies and techniques, and learning how to communicate effectively. Something else that we'll be doing is practicing visual presentation and document design. So those are all the things that we want you to be able to do by the end of the course, and then there's also some objectives here that are more specific. Something that I do want to point out is that I-courses are not necessarily easier than face-to-face classes. I personally think they're a little bit more difficult because you have to have a lot more personal drive to get things done, and it does require you to take the initiative to reach out if you need help, because when I teach in person, I can come up to you and ask you if you need help, but in this case, I don't know if you're needing help or if you have questions. So there's a lot more responsibility on you. Something I do want to point out is that you should plan to expect 9 hours a week or more on this course. Sometimes students are surprised to find out how much work they need to do for this course, but it is required by the department that you spend at least this amount of time. So things like doing the readings, watching videos, completing responses, and doing your writing assignments contribute to that 9 hours. Some weeks we use the book a little bit more, some weeks we will spend more time revising. So just know that everything that I have in this course is to help you be successful on the major projects. I really don't believe in busy work. I don't like to assign it, and I definitely don't like to grade it. So everything that we do is absolutely crucial to helping you achieve those course goals and outcomes. This isn't a course where you can cram in all the work at the end. You need to be keeping up with the work throughout. Otherwise, there will be some attendance issues and you'll be losing some points, and we'll go over that in a little bit. So there's 4 main units that you can read about more in depth. There's a business correspondence unit, and these are the parts of the business correspondence unit: personal branding unit, report project, and a proposal project. And it doesn't matter which 302 class you're in. All of the 302 classes have the business correspondence, personal branding, and proposal. The report project is something that's unique to our class, but all of the classes have very similar assignments because we want you to learn very similar things. Also, at the end of the semester, there's a portfolio and reflection that you will complete. So if you want to read these descriptions more in depth, you can understand what is in each unit and what you'll be completing and how many points it's worth. Something I do want to point out is the weekly responses. So they count as attendance for the class because we don't meet in person. It's kind of our discussions and things like that. So the response assignments help me to understand where you're at in your progress. There's most of the responses are case studies that students generally really enjoy. They kind of help you to think about what will happen in the real world, in the workplace, situations that could pop up, and kind of help you to navigate what to do in situations like that. So weekly responses are always due before midnight on Fridays, and you can see the schedule in the syllabus. They're not every week, but they're almost every week throughout the semester. They're graded for clarity, thoughtfulness, following the directions, and you should do your reading and complete everything you should complete your response after reading all of the chapters and the prompts and things like that. So you want to make sure that maybe at the beginning of the week you read the response so you know what's expected, and then you're kind of thinking about it throughout the week. In terms of grading all of the assignments, there's a rubric posted in Blackboard that is for all of the English 302 classes, and then I also provide more specific grading criteria and expectations on the assignment prompts themselves. So you want to make sure that you read the assignment prompts, you want to make sure that you are familiar with the written communication rubric, and I believe that rubric is actually spread through all of the business classes that have writing components. You can check out how final grades are calculated. Please note that I do not round up at all because there are extra credit opportunities. So if you earn a 79.9% or you've got 799 points, you should expect to earn a C. Okay, If you earn a 98% or above, you will get an A plus, because I feel like you should get a little something extra, especially in an online class. It takes a lot of effort to do that. However, if you have a 97.9, I will not round you up to get an A plus, and it kind of annoys me when people beg for that because it makes me not want to give A pluses at all. So be nice about that. And I do not give any other plus or minus grades. There's only the A plus, everything else is a straight letter grade. You can see the entire point breakdown for the semester here. So you can see there's 1,000 points. So there's a lot of opportunities to do well. I like classes that have lots of points because that means that if you miss a couple points here and there, it's not tragic. So I'd rather be in a class that has 1,000 points over being in a class that only has 100 points. So lots of opportunities to do well. Now we're getting into the writing programs policies that are across all writing programs classes. So if you have any questions about these, I'm happy to answer them, but a lot of these policies are not things that I've made up. They're department-wide. So in terms of absences, you are only allowed to have 4 absences. Now, in an online class, obviously we're not meeting in person. So an absence for an I-course is failing to post an assignment during the window of time that you're given. So basically what that means is you can only miss 4 weekly responses before you fail the course. So not only will you miss the points for that week, but it also counts as an absence. So if you notice, there are 10 weekly responses worth 10 points each. So you have to do at least 6 of the weekly responses just to be in the class, to keep from failing. So please note that. That's really important. And the attendance policy is a program-wide policy. If you have technical problems at home or on an on-campus connection, it's usually not a valid reason for failing to turn things in, unless, the internet goes down on a wide scale on campus or there's a huge, problem. Exceptions will not be made for routine computer problems. The reason for that is you should be turning your work in well before the deadline. So don't wait until, 11:58, the day it's due. So you should allow enough time to, try again later, or if your computer dies, you should have enough time to get to campus or use a friend's computer to turn your work in. If you don't log in or contact me during the first week of online classes, you may be dropped, so make sure that you're keeping up. We start from the very beginning with our class. Make sure you check out the grading policies. Consider that every piece of writing you do for this class is public property. If you write about any sensitive topics, please be aware that I am a mandatory reporter, so I will have to report some of those things if you share them with me in your writing or in emails or in person. Please note that no late assignments are accepted for grading. The reason for this is in the business world, if you miss a deadline, you miss a deadline. If you are trying to apply for a job and you don't meet the deadline, you will not be considered for that job. So I know it sounds really harsh, but at this point in your academic career, you should be able to turn things in on time and manage your time properly. So late assignments are not accepted for graded credit. You need to submit your assignments through Blackboard before the deadline indicated in the course schedule. And you can read more about that in the submission policy. I do not accept emailed papers at all. So please note that if something, if you're like Blackboard's broken and you email it to me, that does not count as it getting turned in. So you'll need to make sure that you plan your time well enough to allow yourself time to submit properly. However, I believe in mercy. I know that life happens, and because I am merciful and flexible with you, I hope that you'll be merciful and flexible with me as well. So in order to kind of maintain the late assignments are not accepted, but allow for life happens, there is a late pass policy. So once per course, you have a late pass that you can use for a final draft of a major assignment. This excludes the proposal unit because it's the end of the semester and it's just really tight with grading. So any of the other final drafts of big assignments you can turn in 48 hours late, and nothing bad will happen. It won't affect your grades or anything like that. Once you have used your late pass, you will receive a 0 for any other late assignments. In order to use the late pass, when you turn it in, just type in the comment box on Blackboard that you'd like to use your late pass, and that's all you have to do. All right, to pass this class, all major writing assignments must be submitted. So keep in mind, you cannot turn them in late, except for once. And if you want to pass, you have to submit all of them. So you can't just check out of this class and expect to pass. You have to submit all of the major writing assignments on time. And a major writing assignment is any project worth 100 or more points. Also make sure that you're only submitting things that you've written for this class. Resubmitting a paper from another class is an example of academic dishonesty. So make sure that you are aware of that. If you need to learn more about academic dishonesty, you can read about it here. Something I'd like to point out is we will use student samples in this course. So I think that it's a great way to learn, to show you what other students have done. But keep in mind that some of the student samples are slightly different than the assignment that you are getting, and some of the student samples are a little bit longer than the assignments that you're assigned. So you want to make sure that you're just using them as ideas. And if you are using the samples too carefully, lifting sentences or copying grammatical structures from the samples, that's considered plagiarism and can result in a 0 for the course or failing the course. Because business writing is formulaic, you need to be very careful not to copy or plagiarize ideas from the examples. I know it's super tempting because, the overall format or the overall assignment is kind of the same, but you have to be really careful that you're not plagiarizing. And don't try to slide by, because I'm super familiar with the student samples. So I know them well. I posted them. Don't take a chance. If you're worried that you're following the sample too closely, just email it to me for review and I can take a look at it. So there's some information on violent or threatening behavior, some more information to check out about sexual violence and harassment based on sex, and remember that I'm a mandatory reporter. Everything in this course is copyrighted material, so make sure that you're not sharing that or selling that. If you have a disability, make sure that you are registering with the DRC and we can make accommodations for you. This is really important because everything has to be documented properly, and I really want to support you in every way that I can, but you do need to register with the disability office. So if you have something that you think you might need accommodations for, make sure you do that at the beginning of the semester. At the end of the semester, we will be creating a portfolio of all of your work, so make sure that you hang on to everything and you don't get rid of it until after the semester is over. And if you are unhappy with your grade, there is going to be a grade appeal process that you'll need to follow. Required paper format is business format, so Times New Roman, 12-point font, single spaced, using APA guidelines. So the submission policy, remember that technical problems are not an excuse for late work. Papers must be submitted in the appropriate format, doc, docx, RTF, or PDF. This is important because in the business world, if you're asked to submit a paper in a specific format and you don't, you will not be considered for the job, or your project will not be considered as complete. So you need to follow instructions that you're given. If you're using a Google Doc, download it as a Word doc and then submit it to Blackboard. I cannot grade or consider submitted incorrect files or corrupt files. So please make sure that you attach the correct file, and be aware that Blackboard only lets you submit one time. Again, in the business world, you've got one try to submit things properly. So be sure that you are putting the right file in there because you've got one try. Okay? Technological failures are the responsibility of the student and not an excuse for missing a deadline. At this point in your academic career, you should have an a basic understanding of grammar and mechanics. And in order to earn at least a C in this class, you must be able to write without significant grammar, punctuation, spelling, sentence structure errors. If you want to receive an A, your work should not contain any of these errors. So if English is not your first language, or you know that you struggle with grammar, punctuation, and spelling, make sure that you are seeking outside help. There's a lot of sources on campus that you can use. There's free tutors. There are the WP Carey writing centers, the regular writing center, and I will help you, but I'm not going to line edit your work. I've got too many students, and that's an expectation that you will seek outside help for. So I can give you feedback in general and pointing out areas where you have consistent difficulty, but I would encourage you to seek outside help if you need that extra support. I will try to get your papers back to you as quickly as possible when I grade them. If you want feedback before the due date and you want to make sure that you're on the right track, you need to request feedback at least 3 full business days before the paper or the project is due. So you'll send me an email and you'll send me the rough draft, and then you'll ask specific questions. If you don't ask me specific questions, you'll probably get pretty general feedback returned to you. So if you want specific help, ask specific questions. And keep in mind that I go through and do feedback requests in the order they're received. So if I get inundated with student emails, I'll just chip away at them until I can, until the due date. So you have a better chance at getting feedback the sooner you ask for it. If you're waiting until the last minute, I can't guarantee that I'll get back to you before the due date. There's a bunch of support services that you can look at: ASU libraries, ASU counseling, different tutoring and writing centers to look into. And just know that I'm here for you. I really want you to be successful. Some notes on the course materials and due dates. Everything can be found in the content section of the Blackboard course. And I've tried to make everything easy to remember. So tasks is what you need to complete. And that's things like watching videos, completing weekly responses. There are things that you need to do on your own, and you should have them done before 11:59 p.m. on Fridays. Deliverables are what you actually need to turn in and submit to Blackboard, and the due dates on those are always before midnight on Fridays. So hopefully that's easy for you to remember. Midnight on Fridays is the day. You want to make sure that you keep your due dates organized. So if you want to sync a Blackboard calendar with your Google Calendar, that's a great way to do things. I will try to remind you of due dates as much as I can in Blackboard announcements, but at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to make sure that you know when things are due and that you turn them in on time. Here's a note on how the text is used in the course and which chapters correspond to each unit if you want to use the textbook to its fullest, and make sure that you're using it as a resource. In terms of working ahead, I don't recommend it. If you need to finish this course early, I would try taking a session A or B class because those are shorter. And I might make changes or give you supplemental materials or give you tips to help you in Blackboard announcements. And if you're working ahead, you may not have access to those in time. So you may not have all the helpful information you need. The other thing is if you decide to work ahead, I'm not going to be grading your work before the deadlines. So there's really no point to working ahead because I won't grade your work early anyway. So that is that. At the end of the syllabus, you have the course schedule. You can see that these are the things that you need to do and read and look over. And then this is what is supposed to be submitted. Okay? So we've kind of combined week 1 and 2 here because week 1 kind of starts in the middle of the week. So you have a week and a half really to do all of this work and make sure that you get this submitted to Blackboard before August 24th, before midnight on that Friday. So I hope that this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, please let me know. But I would make sure that you download the course schedule and keep it handy. If you have any questions about how to read the course schedule or how to understand when things are due, please let me know and I will be happy to explain it to you more in depth. And Whew, that was a long video, but I hope it was helpful. And if you have any questions, as always, reach out and let me know.